Welcome. This is indeed Fullcourt Passport. That is Bostjan Nachbar. I'm Ric Bucher, and our special guest, the head coach of the Wisconsin Herd. We know him in so many other ways than that, but I'll start with Beno Udrih, head coach of the Wisconsin Herd, two-time NBA champion, 13 years in the NBA. Has won championships in at least 3 different countries, if I'm not mistaken. And perhaps his greatest claim to fame is that he is the part-time shooting coach of one Chance Bucher,
Yeah.
now playing collegiately. So with that, Beno, it's so good to see you. Welcome.
Good to see you guys too. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Beno. Thanks for taking the time. You and me, we go way back. I don't even know when was the first time that we met or that we played together, but it's been probably close to 30 plus years now.
Probably.
So it's been a lot. But just my first thing is like when you had your long NBA and then also EuroLeague career for a couple of seasons that you spent here and then going into coaching.
hmm
I just want to know, because you're in a little bit of a specific situation where you're, as a European player, played in the NBA, came back in Europe, and then once you became a coach, you became a coach of a G League. So it's kind of rare that we see this kind of a pattern from a player slash coach. So my question is, how was that adjustment like for you? And how do you enjoy it now that it's a different life last couple of years, that you're not on the court but you're on the sidelines?
Yeah, I mean, I always, even when I was playing, I always wanted to be I knew I want to be a coach. And towards the end of my career, I kind of started feeling like there's something like, when I start playing basketball and I kind of start feeling that I'm going to be successful because I really wanted to be a good basketball player and successful. I start feeling, okay, I have the same hunger in to become a coach. And, as a player, I always was like I had good coaches, I had okay coaches, I had bad coaches, as we all did. And like always, when I was going through coaches that like, were not giving me what I needed, I was like, okay, like there's something missing. I needed that. So that's why I wanted to get into coaching and just like I want to help these players be better, not in, a couple years, but like right now, right away. Like that's just teaching them all these little fundamentals, details of the game, and transition, yeah, it's been hard, and like you said, like it's different, but set a goal for myself, to try to become the first European born ex NBA player to be a head coach in the NBA. So, you can control the way your path brings you to that. And, like after COVID, I got a assistant player development coach with the Pelicans. And that, again, my path was weird because being still on the court playing with the guys, I break my leg. My worst injury in my career happens being a coach, not a player. So, and then left the Pelicans, went scouting for a year, pro scouting with the Atlanta Hawks, and then got this opportunity to join the Bucks and the Wisconsin Herd. And here we are.
Yeah. You've been incredibly successful there. And I wonder what was the biggest challenge in going from being a player, not just to a development coach or any of that, but you are the head coach, you're running the show.
hmm I mean, I think the biggest thing being a head coach is like it's actually managing, different sides of basketball. You're managing the medical, managing the coaching staff. Then you got to talk to the GM, constantly, because especially in the G League, there's so much movement. Like it's a constant conversation every day, couple times a day. My wife's actually jealous on my like because I talk to my GM more than I talk to her. So, and then obviously managing players, we all know that like players, like everybody has a different mind and different, feelings and all this stuff. So you got to manage all of
Yeah.
those. So
Well, and
that is the biggest thing.
I wonder about that because you came up, I don't want to age you, but like you came up in a different era. What are
Hmm.
you finding how do you go about connecting to players that have come up in this generation?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like communication is always the key. Um, and we all, like, a lot of people think communication is just talking to players, but it's actually listening too. So, I try to talk to them. I bring them to one-on-one meetings, and like just talk to them and just like, hey, what's going on? What are your expectations?
Mm,
I have a couple players this year that, been drafted like even lottery picks, and like, I asked them, hey, what were your expectations when you got drafted? Well, okay, now that that's gone, like, and you're out of the league basically, and you're in the G League, what are your expectations now?
yeah.
What did you learn about the league in general, and like, what are your goals? I mean, a lot of people, I uh, think that expectation and goals are the same thing, but they're not. So just little things like, what did you
Mm,
learn? What do you want to achieve? Because a lot of players, when they go through that, I think that, oh, I got to go to the G League, got to showcase myself, I got to score 20 plus points. But like, historically, whoever is a MVP of the G League or the leading scorer of the G League doesn't get a call up. So,
Mm.
I try to explain that to players, and like, it doesn't happen overnight. So you got to have constant conversation and, listening to these players, and hopefully at some point, sooner rather than later, they figure it out that like they just need to play the right way
mm.
and, do what actually teams need. So, and what they're looking for. So yeah.
Beno, so explain maybe especially for people from Europe listening, because the G League is, I mean, everybody knows G League, but it's a little bit maybe more disconnected from the audience here than NBA, just because it's not so much in the media, as far as
Hmm.
games and all that. Like, how would you describe G League basketball, and how does that relate to the type of coach you are? What I'm trying to say is, like, what kind of style is played and how much of your coaching philosophy fits into that? Because I know you have, like you mentioned before, higher goals and other goals, not just be G League coach for
Hmm.
your whole career, but how much of what you want to do as a coach can you put into the style of play you have now, and what the league is like, or what the game is like in the G League.
I mean, it's a very fast-paced league. Players like to play fast. Players are hungry, obviously, to get to the next stage. And that's fine. But like, again, that brings the point that I was trying to say earlier, that like, you can't just go out there and try to score 40, or 30. Like, you gotta play the right way, and that's what I'm trying to bring from my experience, being from Europe. Like, move the ball side to side. I try to put like, the offense, that it's kind of a flowing offense, just continuous movement, that everybody's involved, everybody gets to touch the ball. Like, I feel like in a lot of, like, just the way basketball now is like a lot of passing wing to wing, but the ball never gets to the corner. So the corner guys don't feel like as involved. So then they're just creeping up, creeping up. Now the spacing is bad. So I'm just
Mhm.
trying to, and that takes time. Especially with this younger generation now. Like, everything is ISO. Everything is like, oh, let me show how I can dribble between my legs, but not going anywhere. So,
Yeah.
and again, I don't think that it's their fault either. I feel like, I just try to like bring it back a little bit, but still let them play fast. But that's all a great idea to play fast. But like, I think if you want to play fast, you gotta be smart too. You gotta be like, when you do that, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and understand that, like, what is a good shot and what is a bad shot and what is a great shot. So
Yep.
if you can accept that, then you can do that. But like, otherwise, like, we gotta try to find out somebody else that can do.
We're watching,
It's a cruel business.
no doubt. We're watching Thomas Isolo in Memphis,
Uh-huh.
trying to play kind of the same way, going through the same bumps and bruises, and trying to convince the guys to play that way.
Hmm.
having played in the NBA, having been a champion,
Hmm.
does that help you at all in selling and convincing these guys? Look, this is because I think this is what everybody in the NBA is going toward, right?
Yeah,
Um,
they
is
try
that
to.
style, but it is a transition from the way the game was previously played.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a transition, and it's hard. It's not easy. Um, but like especially G League. I think with the G League is like this is my third year, and maybe I have two players that I had last year on a team,
Mm,
and they kind of saw the system working last year, start gelling really well towards the end of the season, and then now we have like brand new players, like eight of them, nine of them. So now you got to relearn those guys, and those guys are outsiders basically, you know what I mean? So it's just hard in the G League. We don't have the whole summer to prepare. Like we don't start a month and a half before, just like an open gym. Like the budget is not there, all the stuff. So like we are dealing with a lot of issues that they don't exist in NBA.
right.
So it's just hard. But like like you said, like just players just kind of refuse to do it because they're afraid that they're not gonna touch the ball again. They just gotta trust, and that's a big thing about just basketball now, like trust, trust the next guy. And I feel like this system, what it does, I think is just it just helps everybody, like I said earlier, touch the ball. Everybody is like involved, and then the system you know, well, we have like little, like in my system, there's a little wrinkles that you have that the guys that like, they're more talented than others will get the ball, or we have like certain actions, certain sets that there will be an isolation. But first, you got to get this offense down because it's more complex. It's easy to just give one guy a ball and just like, hey, go
Right.
flat, go down to the baseline and let him go to work. That is that is not hard to teach. You can do
Mhm.
that like, any day, anytime. Like here's the ball, try to get me a bucket,
Hmm.
or
But
and
I,
that's what they think. It's like a lot of times when you put an ISO action in is like, they thinking they need to go to score,
Right.
not like, oh, I
Like,
need to make a play.
right.
mm,
I need to like, hey, let's try to get my team the best shot we can get. I mean, I can be a decoy sometime too, but they don't think that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of the things that are hard to do, like you said, that one of the things that you did as a player, Ben, and you know this very well. Like the mid range was your weapon. I mean, that was
Yeah.
that was your go to, right? Like you probably, and I'm not trying to say this just because you're on, but I don't remember playing with any other player, Europe or NBA, that would have such a great mid range jumper developed as you did. And do you see the NBA game potentially, or just general the basketball going back towards that because it went away from this mid-range game? Because now it's kind of like layups or threes, right? This was like the
Mm-hmm.
last 5 years of 7 years of basketball where coaches were focusing on like let's get the easy bucket or the open three. Those are the high percentage shots, and
Mm-hmm.
threes over twos, whatever. But you see now the Shea Gillis Alexander being MVP of the league, and his mid range game is basically incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
you know how it is, like the NBA and the basketball in general is like it's a sport or it's a game of trends, right?
Yeah.
Do you see that potentially becoming a thing again? Like from a coaching perspective, like do you encourage that, or you tell guys, hey, all the way to the rack or kick out threes? Like where do you stand as a coach, knowing that you were an incredible mid range player?
Well, I stand where you stand. So the old ways. But like the way I try to coach is like take what the defense gives you.
Hmm.
All right. And what is the defense a lot of time gives you is the mid range.
Mm,
Right. So that is like my whole thing is like when you come on, let's say we play pick and roll, middle side, doesn't matter. But the first initial thought it has to be I'm getting to the rim. You got to put your defense on their heels. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
because we all know the layup is still the highest percentage shot, right? If we get to the rim and finish at the rim, and then I remember one time I was playing when I was playing in Sacramento. I was like, the media came to me and was like, "Oh, do you know that you're the highest percentage shooter in the paint around the rim on the team?" And I was, and it's like, "How is that possible?" I was like, "When I'm open, I lay it up. When I'm not open, I pass it out." I'm just like, you know, it's that simple, like. But yeah, like like I remember one time I talked to, and don't get me wrong, I love analytics. Analytics can help you make really good decisions. It's a great tool to have, but I just missed somebody like teaching the full work for a mid range.
Mhm.
The time, the momentum into the mid range, the how you get the defense not able to contest the mid range. You know what I mean? Like you coming off a pick and roll, if you go sideways, and defense goes over the screen. If you go sideways, the defense is gonna still be in your, peripheral vision. So your shot percentage is going down. But if you go towards the basket, they're behind you. You don't see them. You're fine. So again, nobody teaches how to properly shoot a mid range. So let's say I remember I talked to an analytical person. I was like, "Oh, if you shoot certain percentages from mid range and certain percentage from three, we don't want you to take mid range." I'm like, "What? It's a wide
Mm.
open shot." But the problem then I start paying attention to is like when players took the mid-range shot, they were not a proper mid-range shot, just like
Yep.
they shoot threes, 1, 2, or jump stop and shot straight up, straight down. They were either falling off of 1 foot
Fading.
sideways or they were fading backwards. And yes, then or they were getting like guards were getting too deep, and now the big guys in front of them, and they contest a shot. Now you got to shoot a little bit higher arc, so the percentages go down.
Yep.
So nobody's teaching that properly how to shoot a mid range. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
A lost art. A lost
yeah,
art, like I
exactly.
said.
Like so,
Yep.
and nobody's taking the time to teach that. So it's
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
it is a little bit frustrating because I knew how effective I was, but I was like, and maybe that I created that basically when I was in Europe because in Europe, there's no defensive 3 seconds. So,
Yep.
like there was literally no angles in Europe. When you come off a pick and roll, either you had a mid range or you had a swing, right? But there was no
You're
really
not getting to the
time to go
the
for a
rim
layup.
off of a pick and
No,
roll.
Exactly.
no.
You don't
Yeah.
see any little angles that you
Yeah.
think you might take.
Yeah.
So, and I just, but again, I think like my footwork was really good. So that's what helped me to be even more efficient in those
Yeah.
mid-range shots.
I can speak to this firsthand because I saw, and I want to belabor this, but Beno working with my daughter and
Mm-hmm.
working on the mid-range pull-up, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple, but Beno's concentration on her footwork and her ability to come like stop and go right into the shot. Simple like that, the timing of it. If you're coming off of a pick or whatever, and you can hit that, because that's the other thing is we see guys they have to gather to get that. Like they're not
Hmm.
used to immediately taking that pull up as soon as it's there. It's going to be a stop and a pivot or a jab step or whatever it is. And I was watching that, and it was beautiful to watch, and so simple and effective. But I'll tell you, Bano, like I've of all the coaches that she's worked with, shooting coaches and whatnot, like no one had ever coached her on something as simple as that, and it was effective immediately. And not to belabor it, but she after one game she was leading the Western Athletic Conference in scoring. So I'll leave it
There
at
you
that.
go.
I'll just leave it at that.
I
Um,
mean, it is simple, but like, you know, once when we get older, we always think like, oh, we need to go, we always focusing on the end result.
yeah,
We don't focus on the
process.
what needs to be done to get there, you know what I mean? And we forget about the fundamentals and details of the full work, and like I see guys coming off the pick and roll and they make three extra steps than I would take. You know what I mean? And that's
Mm,
when the defense catches up.
yep, yep,
Like, you know what I mean? Just little
yep.
things like that. Like you're more open, you're gonna have higher percentage shots. You're less open, you're gonna have lower percentage shots.
Mm.
So it's like
Mm.
it's simple, but like nobody's paying attention to it. And then, I just try to, watch what other players are doing. They're efficient with it, and like they all have full work. They all have little things that like get them there faster and more efficiently.
I am seeing more and more international players, obviously in the NBA, but being valued by teams that previously never valued them or went that direction. And I wonder how much of this do you think is the style of play that the NBA is moving toward, and you have international players who are raised playing that way with more ball movement, player movement, that's why, as long as it goes in this direction,
Mm-hmm.
that international players are going to be more and more coveted because they already have the fundamentals to play the style that the NBA is going toward.
I mean, yeah, and to add to that, I think because the game is faster, right? The defense can get to the defense can get to their spots, to kind of a play in the pinches, or like try to take those angles away from offensive players. So when you are fundamentally sound and like I think the game becomes easier for you. Because like the defense, like back in the day, the game was slower,
Hmm.
so defense was always set.
Yep.
So players that like were fundamental, they didn't come to that. It wasn't shown as that good. Like now, the game is faster. The defense is not set as much now. Players, if I get somebody on a hip on my side, like it's over for him. Now somebody better come help. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And like player like me, player like Boki, we were not hungry to score. We were hungry to win.
Mm,
You know what I
that's a
mean?
good
So
point.
like again, if somebody's on my hip, like it's over for him, right? Like I can't go 1-on-1 against him. I remember I was playing against Nate Robinson one time when he was in New York, and he was like, "Man, why are you always calling for pick and rolls? Why don't I want to go 1-on-1?" I was like, "Because you can't stop it. Like, nobody can. Like, it's just because that gets you to on my side or behind me, and now I can. Now we're
Yeah.
playing 5-on-4 instead of 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So, somebody helps. Just keep it simple. Hit the next. I mean, I'm trying to tell my players right now. I was like, hey, when the guy is open, hit him. Don't make two more dribbles when the defense can come closer to him, and then you try to pass, right?
Yeah.
And like that's the thing is nowadays everything is dribble first, pass second. When it should be pass, like Boki, you know it. When we were growing up, coaches were like, "What is faster, the pass or the dribble?" Like, how
Hmm.
can you get faster to an opposite side layup? Let's say with the pass when your teammate is open, or you take six dribbles to get there.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it again. We are forgetting about the simplest thing, right? Is the pass. You know.
Yeah, and what you mentioned earlier is so true. I mean, especially the player who was on the recipient end of playing the point guards. Like you were point guard, Beno, I was a wing, and me having played with you and other guys in the NBA, whether it was Chris Paul or whether it was Jason Kidd and so on, like great passers. Like you there's nothing you appreciate more than a perfect timing on a pass when an advantage is created through a
Mm-hmm.
play or specifically through a pick and roll, and then the ball comes flying either strong side or even better weak side where you're waiting in the corner. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
Ben, if that one dribble or two extra dribbles are wasted,
It
like
kills
your
it.
opportunity, who you're on the other end waiting and nobody notices, like you're done because that timing is off and that defense is recovered. So I enjoy watching, really, whether it's in EuroLeague or NBA. I enjoy watching playmakers who take less dribbles but create more. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same when I watch kids play. When I watch my daughters play, like it's nothing better than seeing a kid who doesn't waste dribble for nothing, but is able to create more with less dribble. And since I mentioned comparison NBA or EuroLeague, Beno, and I'm gonna put you on the spot here, like do
Oh
you
no.
ever steal any plays from EuroLeague or NBA teams that you see and you say, "Hey, I like this play. I'm going to steal it." Like I always wonder how it is with coaches if they steal that. If you see something
You
new
know it.
or tweak or something like this.
I tweak. A lot of times I tweak. I
Yeah.
watch film and I see something. Oh my gosh, this is gonna work if the defense play. Because like that's the thing is I try to explain players is like stop looking at your defender. You know what I mean? Stop looking at the next defender. Start looking at the defender in the back line.
Hmm.
What is he doing?
Hmm.
Try to see like stop trying to see an assist. Try to see a hockey assist.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The next layer to it. You know what
You're
I
leading
mean?
a revolution, Bano. You know that. Like
But I'm just saying, like, and
getting
I'm just trying
players
to
to
teach.
think that way that have made it to the NBA or to professional basketball that's a little bit foreign, I would say, to probably, I don't know, what percentage would you put on it? Not 90%
Yeah,
of the players came
Probably,
up
yeah.
this way with a different mindset.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it, and it's just like, okay, I see something, and then they don't see it, and again, that's why I wanted to become a coach because I want to help players be better, and like my whole thing is like, I don't want to like, let's say we could put a 20-year-old player, and he's working out every day, he's putting time in, he's getting better every day. There's no doubt in it, in that. But the thing is like, is he working on the right thing
Yeah.
to get him better faster? Like all the players, we say players are in their prime between 27, 32, 28, 32, whatever, right? That's their prime. So my whole thought process behind it, if you work on the fundamentals and little details, the angles, the timing of it, stuff like that, seeing what I just explained, not the assist, but the hockey assist, like if they start thinking that way, like the player, instead of, let's say it's 20-year-old player, instead of him figuring it out on him by himself at 27, 28, that maybe is already too late, he might get there at 23,
hmm
24. So now his prime is longer, more opportunity for them to make money faster, all the stuff that matters to them, like
Hmm.
like all that stuff that I'm trying to do because I wanted to be a coach, I mean, just trying to get players to their prime faster.
Yeah.
So now, let's say as an organization, you have a prime player in 23, 24, and instead of waiting for him for 28, 27, you're already thinking, oh, I got to trade him or stuff like that. So,
hmm
yeah, that's my whole thought process behind it.
How long do you think it's going to take for you to get where you want to go? And how do you maintain the sort of patience in terms of the players that you're working with and where you want to go, and the patience to say, I got to keep just working toward my opportunity, not knowing when that opportunity is going to come.
I mean, yeah, that's a very hard question. As we know, it's
That's
it's
why I'm
hard
here.
to
That's
get
why I'm
there.
here, Beno.
Yeah, I
You know
know.
me. I ask the hard questions.
Listen, it's a privilege that I am here where I am today. I always say there's only 60, you know, head coaching jobs in a professional basketball in the United States, pretty much, right? 30 in NBA, 30 in, actually 30, 61, because 31 in G League. So I am fortunate enough to get this opportunity to be here. But obviously, like I mentioned earlier, my goal is to be, in the NBA at some point. So when it will come, I don't know. I hope it comes, sooner rather than later, because I really I feel like being here for 3 years in the G League, I figured out how to manage everybody. And I think in NBA you even have more help than you do here in G League because you have bigger staff. Organization is just bigger in
Yeah.
general. So again, like I'm happy I'm here, but like obviously I'm hungry. So like we all are. We all want to grow. We all gonna get
Yeah.
better and help players.
Before we let you go, your experience, what in your playing experience have you found has been the most valuable to you as a head coach? Whether it was a coach that you had, or players that you played with, or just a situation, what have you found that you draw on the most that has been helpful in your current position?
I feel like oh, I mean, just growing up overseas, like I had one coach that uh, took me under the wing and taught me all those little details that helped me then grow and like learn more
who
about
was
it.
that? Who was that, Beno?
That was Boki, him, Bostjan Nachbar.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then and that was when we were a really young age, and he kind of took me under the wing and just tried to teach me every angles and details and stuff like that. And then I just expand onto that, right? And then I had a coach that we would all say like in Europe, Zmago Sagadin, right? He was really hard on me, and I would say like, and I don't mean this in a bad way or anything, but like he probably like hurt some players. The
Hmm.
same amount of players he kind of hurt than he helped. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because he just has his certain ways, but like what I learned from him is like efficient. You know what I mean? Like I remember one time I'm bringing the ball across the court, I'm getting full pressure, and I'm 18. I'm skinny. I was like very light. And this player is very physical. He's pushing me and stuff, and I take probably 10 dribbles to get over the half court to get us in the offense, and he blows a whistle, and I'm like, everybody's like, well, what's happening, right? And he's like walking around, and Bookie, as you know, with him, like walking around, he's like waving his arms, and we're all like, what's happening? Like, why did he blow a whistle? Like, we're in a set. He's like, are you crazy? You're not allowed to make that many dribbles in a month. Like, not in one offense. So, like, like just, but it was constant. Like, and what I appreciated with him is like, there was literally, and I always say that, like, if I want my player to run to a corner every time, right? Every time he doesn't, I have to tell him. You know what I mean? Every
Mm,
time. So, like, I feel like if I tell player to do that, and then player gets to a point that he's tired of hearing me telling him, and now he's doing it to shut me up, well, I'm winning, right? It's like it's good for the team, but like what I mean. Now he's doing what I want him to do, like, but he's doing
mm.
it to despite me.
Yeah.
That's fine, but
You'll,
he's still doing it what I'm doing, right?
you'll
But like
take
that's what I learned from him. He was constantly on me every day. I was in meeting with him and all the stuff. So that's what I appreciate, with him. And then that helped me. That gave me the foundation. You know what I mean? And then coming to the Spurs, with Pop, like I love that there was no double standards. Like it doesn't matter if Timmy made a mistake or I made a mistake or Tony, Manu, all those guys. Like it was, hey, he was teaching, he was coaching. Those constant conversations, and he didn't care about hurting feelings. Nowadays, we have to, think about that a little bit. We have to word it the right way or deliver it in a different way, and just being around that helped me too to be like that. Like I can deliver the message in a nice way, but still, get my point across. So yeah, Pop, and then obviously Spo. I played there for a short stint, but like I think Spo does a really good job, and like and then with Stan, like I feel with Stan, just he brought me into the coaching. Like he got me the first opportunity in the NBA. But again, like I just with that I saw kind of a how to manage certain things. That's again like, in the whole process you just learn what's you think it will work, what is not going to work, and just growing in that aspect of it. I'm just fortunate again that I got all these opportunities and all these people to learn for good or bad.
Ben, before we let you go, I gotta ask one more question.
Yep.
Towards the end of your career, you spent some time also. I think it was a season with Žalgiris
Yep.
in EuroLeague. What was your experience there? How did you see EuroLeague? Not so much compared to the NBA, but just an experience there, like as far as how the game is, the physicality of it, the fan engagement, and you
Mm.
guys went to the Final Four that year, which is incredible. For the
Mm-hmm.
let's call it, at least back then. Now the club has grown, but let's say a smaller team from the budget standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just want to hear you talk about that experience really quickly before we wrap it up.
I mean, yeah, the experience was great. I think the way the Žalgiris runs their organization is amazing. It's like very similar to pretty much to NBA private playing facility 24/7. The fans are amazing. They're involved from an hour before the game, not the whole game. So, and then an hour after more. So they live and die the green. So just to be a part there, like, was great. Just learning about Sharas. Like he was like one of the best players me growing up in EuroLeague. And I did like I just kind of learned about you know like I put a lot of attention to ATOs, meaning like timeout plays,
Hmm.
because we were, I think, seventh seed at that time, and we played Olympiacos, and we kicked them out to get to the Final Four. But like there was a 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, even 12th team, maybe their plus minus for the whole season as a team was better than ours. Like, and we won so many close games because of our ATOs, because obviously Sharas was a point guard too, and he sees the game really well, and he sees how the deep, again, he I think he's thinking very similar to me. I don't know exactly if he's thinking that way, but like he's as a point guard, he was, he was great passer and stuff, and he was thinking, he was watching defense, not his defender, not the next defender, but the third layer of defense, right? That's why he was able to tear defenses apart. So in during the game, he sees that, and he just draws one. He knows exactly which ATO is going to work for that certain defense because that's what he sees.
Hmm.
And that's why we won a lot of close games. And that's why our plus minus wasn't as big as the others because we won a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And that's what got us in a position, to be good.
And you finished third that season, which is
Yeah.
still the best result since then for Žalgiris, and
Yeah, the budget,
that's
the
incredible.
budget's smaller, so it's
Well,
hard.
I mean, you guys were the team of the season, with the smaller budget to make it that far and to make that big of a splash and to be at the Final Four is huge. It doesn't happen a lot in EuroLeague where you have teams where obviously budgets are the main thing
Mhm.
when it comes to making it to the Final Four. So, but
Yeah, but we were
I
a very
appreciate that
detailed
answer.
team, very
Yeah,
detailed team.
very
So that
organized, very
again,
organized. Of
yeah,
course.
exactly. So
Very
yeah, it
disciplined.
might not be pretty, at times, but pretty doesn't. Most of the time, pretty doesn't wins you a lot of games. It wins you some, but I think you need to have a little bit of both now. So
Yeah.
For sure.
yeah.
Beno, thank you so much for taking the time. It was great catching up with you. It's great seeing you. Continued success in Wisconsin, and I know that I speak for both myself and Boki when we say that we look forward to seeing you at the next level, running a team, and then we'll have to have you back on to talk
Anytime, guys. Anytime.
about
Thanks
that
for
level.
having me. Yeah,
Thanks,
this is
Beno.
great. I love
Thanks.
talking basketball, as you guys know. So let's do it again sooner rather than later.
For
Sounds
sure.
good.
For
All
sure.
right, guys.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Beno.
See
Take
you,
care.
Beno.
Take care, guys.
All right. That was Beno Udrih. And there was even more stuff. I could have talked to him the entire hour. And I don't know how many people out there in our audience appreciate like the detail, the deep dive into basketball,
Yeah,
right?
and I look. I played Beno with my national team. I kind of wish he was more available during his time with national team. At times he skipped or he missed some competitions because it was such a joy to play with him. And Beno is still the same guy that he was before, meaning that he always loved to talk basketball details. Like you bring up a certain play, like you couldn't shut him up. And he's the same now. Like he would go on forever talking about a certain play in a detail and where to stand and how to move and how to step. So it's great to see that he translated that into coaching, which I'm sure is going to become he's going to continue to be successful, and fingers crossed we're going to see him on NBA sidelines one day, which is his big goal.
It's such a tricky thing because obviously his understanding of the game and his understanding of it at a granular level is what really, I think, allowed him to be the player that he was for 13 years in the NBA, right? And that does translate to, I think those type of players usually make the best coaches because they understand how you can elevate talent by paying attention to the details. But it's also the challenge is finding players that will buy into that and finding talented players that will buy into that. Because as he was saying, like, and I understand it. I've watched it year after year after year. You have great players who have taken advantage of their natural talent for years, and then they get to a certain level, and it's like, no, you need more than that. And they've never had to develop the little simple things of the game that are going to make the difference at that level. And So that's
and I think the advantage that Beno has, any coach in his position that would have similar resume is, and like Beno described himself, like he wants to be the first coach that is European born, played in the NBA, played the EuroLeague, and then he's now in G League, and I think he can bring so much to the game and to the coaching because his experience is really unique in that sense. So
yeah.
I think coaches like this could be potentially in a great position just because of, like we spoke in the past, Rick, like the direction that the game is going, and their understanding of this more internationally inclined game is going to be basically second to none just because they lived it and they grew up with it. So
yeah. This next topic, I wanted to ask Beno about, but since he is also part of an NBA team, a rival NBA team, I felt like we couldn't go there. And that's talking about Luka Doncic, now with the Los Angeles Lakers, obviously previously with the Dallas Mavericks, one of the big stories last year when he was traded for Anthony Davis and Max Christie. But I want to ask you, because we haven't really talked about this, and I've just thought, not just as somebody who played in the NBA and continues to watch and follow it, but also as a fellow Slovenian, like what was it like for you to watch that whole saga of seeing what Luka did in Dallas and then sort of the recriminations from the Dallas Mavericks about him, and then obviously watching the heartbreak for him in being traded away? What was that like for you as a Slovenian?
I mean, I honestly, just because I am a former basketball player and I lived it. I've been traded, so I kind of removed my emotions from it. I've seen other people getting very emotional about it, Slovenian fans or whatnot. Just getting really angry at Dallas Mavericks for putting Luka in this situation. Some of them even felt Luka was like intentionally embarrassed for whatever was in the background. I think in general, people, including myself, were like waiting for more stuff to come out, why that trade was really made, because it didn't make sense. And for majority of people, maybe myself included, still doesn't make sense. And 6 months later, whatever we are now, 10 months later, doesn't matter. Like, and I think that I was not surprised by the fact that it affected Luka just because of what he went through before, meaning European player who played for the big team, related with Real Madrid, like it's his own club, that he belongs forever. Like he will always watch Real Madrid games, go to games, watch soccer games, support that club from afar. And I felt like as a European who's been in that situation before, he's going to have, and he probably did have, very same connection and appreciation for Dallas Mavericks. He probably saw himself as being Maverick for life. And then to get traded, not that you ask for it as a player, or not as something that's been going on for a month and there's rumors and there's talk and your agent talks to somebody, to other teams, or he talks to the GMs talk between each other. No, like this happened basically out of nowhere. So I totally understood the anger and the disappointment that Luka felt at that moment. But me personally, I kind of wasn't as emotionally involved just because I've seen it. And I thought to myself, like, the sooner Luka's going to get over it, the better. Because that's the nature of being an NBA player. And some of the best players in the NBA after that trade happened said it best. Like, nobody's safe, right? Like if a guy like this gets traded, that means nobody's safe. And that's just the NBA, that the trading element, it's always there.
I wonder now, I've always been fascinated by the fact that you don't have international players who ask to be traded the way you do American players in the NBA. It's pretty, an American-born player, superstar, if things aren't going his way, can be pretty quick to say, I want to go someplace else. You never see that for any of the struggles. You never see that with an international player. And I can't help but think it might be what you just said, which is, or referenced, which is that an international player grows up when he becomes part of a team. And we've talked so much about the passion and the love and how a community comes around a team, that's what they are oriented toward. And so when they join an NBA team, they feel the same way, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, this is not just my team. This is my city. This is my home.
Yeah.
And why would I ever whatever we go through, we're a family. We got to fix it. Like, not,
Yeah.
I'm going to go join another family.
Yeah, I think the perspective on sports is a little bit different. I think American players grow up with this, watching other sports or even basketball when they're younger, and they see the trades, they see the nature of the NBA basketball where this happens. I think in Europe, the players go through this not just when you sign for a big team when you're 18, 20, 21, but in a lot of cases, you go through the whole process of joining this club at 12, and then you play for under 12, under 14, under 16. Eventually, you get to play for the pro team. You kind of feel you're a part of that family, part of that community. And I think maybe that's why European players are more inclined to believe that NBA does offer the same thing, meaning like, hey, that's the city, that's the community, that's the team that I'm part of. And
Yeah.
if I speak from my experience, I kind of had that with the Nets a little bit when my contract was up with New Jersey Nets, and we had some good years, even though that team kind of fell apart and J. Kidd got traded. But I really genuinely wanted to stay with the Nets, and I was willing to like really wait it out and sign a lesser deal just to stay. And I was asking my agent, hey, can we still get it done? And there were some ways to get it done, but at the end it didn't make any sense at all. But I understood that situation, that if you're part of something, you want to stay something for longer. And I think it does come from probably the European or international culture of believing that playing for a certain club is almost like playing for your family once you feel
Yeah.
the connection.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So this is what I'm puzzled by, because in watching Luka now, there's no question he's in great shape. He looks lighter than he did at times in Dallas. And so the questions about his conditioning and his ability to stay healthy, and I think the number one thing is you had brand new ownership. You asked, like, it still doesn't make sense. And from a basketball standpoint, an NBA GM said, or a scout said to me, there's two rules for NBA GMs. The number one rule for an NBA GM is you don't give up on talent. And the number two rule is, if you have problems with said talent, refer to number one. Like, you
That's a
just
good one.
don't give up on talent. You
Yeah,
figure out a
yeah,
way to make it
yeah,
work, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so that rule was violated by the Dallas Mavericks, but I do believe that Nico Harrison has been around a long time. I believe that was a mandate from ownership, which is brand new to the NBA, brand new to professional sports. And they were looking at, we have a guy who has a calf injury who can't play, and we're going to have to sign him to $365 million contract in a year from now. Like, we're not ready as business people. We're not ready to do that.
Mhm.
And you say you can get an Anthony Davis. Like, I can see how a naive or neophyte owner might look at this and say, I'm going to make the smart business decision. Because I've seen other owners do it over the years, right?
Yeah, what I see what you're saying. I am not. I think it's very possible that that's the way that it happened. I just think that if that is so, then Nico Harrison is taking a lot of
Grief.
a lot from the fans and not the
Yeah.
owners, because everywhere
Yeah.
you see is fire Nico. It is not against the ownership so much. So
Yep.
I wonder at what point, maybe later in his stage, he's going to talk about it and say what really happened and
Yeah.
how it came by. But going back to the Luka being in shape, I think that, I mean, he definitely put in the work in the summer. You can see, and he's, he played with the national team, which helped him to prepare for the NBA season. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you come in ready. On the other hand, it means that you go right into the season pretty much, and the season can drag on, and injuries could pile up, especially in the second part. What I'm hoping for and what I want to see is Luka maintain that, because it's easy to get in shape and stay in shape for half a season or a season. We want to see if Luka wants to really become one of the greats, and he's so close to doing that. Like, he is going to have to maintain that for longer, right? And
Yeah.
right now it looks good, but can he do that second part of the season? Can he do that next year? Can he do it the year after? Don't forget, he's been a pro since 15, 16, so his window might not be as long
That's
as
fair.
some other
That's a good point.
players.
That's a good point.
So yeah, so he might have to, just produce sooner in his career in order to not get in danger of wrapping up his career at 33, 34, 35, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if we see Luka where we see some of those other guys playing now where they play close to their 40s.
Yeah. Did he have these problems in EuroLeague in terms of either conditioning or just injuries or whatever? Because even now, I mean, he was through the first 5 games, he was averaging 40 points a game,
Yeah.
but he'd missed 4 out of the first 9 games that they played. And for a guy who came in shape and the way he's playing, it just I can understand like how great he is, and yet if I'm building my team around him and that's my only choice, if I'm not certain that he's going to be there all the time, that puts me in a difficult position.
No, I think his mentality definitely changed, at least for now, since he got traded. Like he put it in the higher gear when it comes to physically being more in your shape and more ready. And I think it's good. It was good for him for that to happen. Luka is a player that has a unique talent where you can put a lob threat next to him and a couple of shooters that are good defenders, and he's going to bring results. Doesn't mean necessarily he'll win a championship. He'll probably need a little bit more than that, but he'll bring results. He's going to put in high numbers, and the wins are going to follow, right? We don't know. We haven't seen yet from Luka, if you think about it from the beginning until now, for his NBA career or European career, including, we haven't seen a losing Luka yet. Like so many players went through a losing season or being a rookie and having a losing team. Like Luka has not been on a losing team yet in his career. And I don't think that's a coincidence, to be honest. I think it says a lot about him. So, like I said before, it's just going to come down to how long he can maintain this top level shape, because that's where he's going to stay healthier and he's going to produce more, and team is going to continue to win.
Well, the other part is that his usage rate, the amount of time that he has the ball and things are working through him, is a very high level. And we were just talking to Beno about how the game is kind of changing, where there's more movement, there's more player movement, there's more ball movement. How do you see his style fitting or working with where the NBA appears to be going?
Could be problematic down the line. Could be, because Luka is very ball dominant, and at times he likes to play at his pace. Now, but again, he's the franchise player. He's the main guy, and I think in the team he's gonna be on for as long as he plays the way he plays, whether that's next 5 years, 10 years, whatever. He's gonna dictate how that team plays. So his team might play differently than what the trend is in the NBA, but it's going to be so important that the teams are going to surround him with players not just that fit certain profile of a player, meaning a defender, shooters, lob threats, but also players that are going to live with the fact that they're going to touch ball less. I don't mean less, they're going to shoot less, but touch ball for less seconds, because Luka's going to eat up 12, 14, 16, 20 seconds of having the ball in his hands, and then he's going to create something incredible that is going to lead to a score. But you got to be a certain type of player to understand that I'm not going to have the ball in my hands so much. I might get open shots, but I'm not going to be the one creating. And that might be something different than what we see in the NBA, at least as how the NBA is changing towards a more ball movement, player movement type of basketball.
Yeah. And when he was playing in EuroLeague, because I'm just not, I didn't watch him all that much. What was the style of play? Was he as ball dominant there as he has been in the NBA?
Well, not as much, because he was young. He was younger on that Real Madrid team, younger player, so he didn't play as many minutes. As the season, couple of seasons that he played there, the seasons went on, he played more. But when he did play, and he played, like I said, he played a lot in his last year, especially, you could see that he likes to have the ball in his hands a lot. But again, the team understood that, even though they had stars for EuroLeague level stars on that team, they understood it because he was highly effective. And in EuroLeague, as we spoke before, Rick, it's all about winning at the end of the day. There's no rebuild process. Let's wait 3 years till we get good and so on. No, it's about winning. And if you have a young kid that is 17, 18, that is, dominant on the ball, but is bringing you wins, you better get in line, because that coach is going to be behind that player, because he's winning games for him, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to try something here. I want to move on to the next. Well, we're not going to move on to the next. We're not going to move on to the next subject that I thought we were going to move on
Next
to,
time,
because
next
we are
time.
almost out of time. But that will allow me, because what I want to do is I want to play the conversation that I had with Choma Cicelo after a recent visit to the Bay Area about being an international coach and the challenges and the difference between being an NBA coach and a EuroLeague coach. We will save that for the next episode. I do want to get to the game of the week, El Clasico. Shock. I don't know if it was shocking for you. It was It was. It was stunning. I felt the stunning aspect of it for the home crowd.
Yeah,
because
I expected more from the game, so to say.
Yeah.
And by that, what I mean is that the game would be closer. I understood Barca is struggling at the moment. They haven't started the season well, both in the Spanish league, in the ACB, and in the EuroLeague. But like I said many times before, for some of these teams, it's going to take a little bit of time to get in rhythm and start putting together, more consecutive wins. But man, Real Madrid, they had a brilliant first quarter and never looked back. Like they looked probably best we've seen them this year, I would think. And their talent that they have on the roster came out and it shined. So unfortunately, it was in El Clasico where you expect a tighter game, but this time, even though the game was played in Barcelona, I attended the game in person. I can tell you that it was, I would say, it was less than what people expected from being a closer game that many people thought, including myself.
It felt like Barcelona was on the edge of making a run, and every single time Real Madrid would hit three. Yeah. Every single time. They get it to 11, and you think, okay, one possession, we get it to single, you know how it goes.
Of course.
Psychologically, you get it to single digits, and you're like, okay, we're right there, right? And I mean, every time, and whether it was Campazzo or it was Trey Lyles, whoever.
Mario Hezonja had made some big shows. Yeah.
Mario Hezonja, by the way, if this is, to me, a reflection of just how talented, one, Real Madrid is, and two, the thing that I think is different EuroLeague from NBA is I'm watching Mario Hezonja come off the bench.
Yeah.
And
because the starters, being a starter, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. It matters. Everybody wants to, but many players want to start the game. It also gives you ability to be on the court right away and getting a feeling of the game and get it going early on. But from the coaching perspective, it doesn't matter who starts. Yeah. Like I've been on teams where I was best player and I didn't start. I was on teams where I was maybe 6, 7, 8th player and I started. It's all about matchups. It's all about, how can we start in the best way? But that might also be a role. You could see some players who would start games, play first 5, 6 minutes, sit down, and maybe don't play until second half or at all because their job was done. So being a starter in EuroLeague really means nothing. So having Hezonja being on the bench, I mean, knowing Mario, like he probably would like to start, but at the same time, he probably didn't care. He came in and it was on, as you saw.
And I'm sure at the end, he's looking at a Real Madrid 101-92 win, and the last thing he's thinking about is, you know what, I didn't start the game. Exactly. I'm sure that did not matter to him. Probably the fact that he'd only scored 12 points in the previous 2 games, and this was a much more bigger contribution, meant more to him than anything else, right?
And a big game, and big players shine in big games, as you know, Rick.
Yep, exactly right. All right, we will end it there. You know what we have to do, Boki? We have to start getting to the game of the week a little sooner. We're squeezing it in, and not that, by the time this comes out, the details of the game aren't as important, but the meaning of the game and where it potentially leads us as a conversation, because this idea that I think, again, is a difference between EuroLeague and NBA, and I wonder if the NBA can ever adopt it, which is winning is the most important thing. Starting, my role, how many shots I'm getting, my touches. Like I I
That's the
hope,
big
as a
difference.
basketball purist, that's where the NBA will borrow or adopt from EuroLeague if
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
anything that it's going to take.
Yeah, or that Europe or European basketball can maintain that going forward, and
Yes, yes, it doesn't go the other way.
right, right, because I think that's something that makes European basketball European. These wins, and especially El Clasico, like we said, it has so many layers of a meaning. Like, first of all, you win or you lose, fine. It's one more win or 1 year loss on the column, okay. But then is the direct rivalry, right? You have Real Madrid and you have Barcelona, who are two biggest institutions, maybe biggest in Europe, that are biggest rivals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, then third, you can go a little bit deeper, and I'm not going to go too much there, but it's political as well. You have Madrid on one side, you have Barcelona, who is representing Catalonia on the other. Like, I mean, it's so many layers to this
Yeah.
one game.
Yeah.
It's not just any game. It's
Yeah.
it's much more than that. And there's many games like this in EuroLeague, including Red Star Partizan or Olympiacos Panathinaikos and some others. So, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah. All right. That does it. And thank you all for joining us. Hope you enjoyed Beno joining us. And I know that I did. And so with that, we will say sayonara until next week. Boki, always good to see you.
Take care.